Alrighty, fantastic. It is currently pretty late, but I thought I'd do this before I went to bed. It's Christmas time. Well, it's not Christmas time. I'm wearing my Christmas pajamas, because it's now November, whatever. It's 2021. 2020 and 2021 have gone by so quickly, it's kind of ridiculous. So this is going to be a 2020 to 2021 highlight / whole life review / talking to myself about how I how I came to terms, all of this, how I realized that I was trans, or how I have worked through the decisions that I've come through today, if that makes sense. But anyway, this is my first video. I might do more videos like this, who knows, on my channel, but either way, I used to do YouTube freshman year of college, which is really funny looking back on, because last time I looked at those videos, I had an actual panic attack and an anxiety attack, because I just forgot about how I was living my life back then, and seeing myself really like sent me into a freaking whirlwind. It was kind of crazy. Like, it was a lot, but either way, so this is just gonna be kind of like flow and see what's up. But I said 2020 to 2021 highlight, because I'll be talking about, like, I guess, like, childhood and things leading up and, like, whatever. But starting with 2020, because that's when I kind of came out as trans, I guess. Anyways, but I would consider myself a transgender person, for Google, and I guess, what is it called? Finding commonalities and similarities and similar stories that I feel like I can relate to. I would Google FTM. I would Google trans man, transgender male, trans masculine, but probably I would say I'm more trans masculine, or a trans guy, or a trans dude, which I will get into later, which is, I just had a lot of, revelations lately, and a lot of light bulbs happening of how I understand myself and etc. And it's just been like a rough 2 years, but I'm happy for it because I'm very conscious, right? So anyways, honestly, before coming out as trans, I will say I don't feel like I was living at all. I think a way for me to explain it would be from ages 0 to 21. Let's say that. 0 to 21, I was playing the video game. Life was on a screen, right? If I'm imagining, like, my daily interactions, this was all on a screen. And sorry if this shakes, because I have a really interesting setup going on. Also, it's in 4K, 24 frames per second, because I'm a letterboxed. I'm not editing this. I don't care. Let's talk film a different time. Maybe I can throw some film stuff in here. But either way, ages 0 to 21, I was playing the video game. I had the controller in my hand. I was operating my body. I was doing what I was told. I was going around. I was doing whatever. And then when I finally came to the realization and kept, like, working through my transness and accepting it and understanding myself more and understanding my transness more, I think that's a better word for it, is when I actually stepped into my body and I could literally, like, look around and be like, oh snap, like, now I'm actually in the world, which is honestly kind of scary. Which I didn't realize was a lot of these decisions that I was making and coming into my transness and understanding it more and understanding myself, like, it can be very comfortable to, and not fear-inducing or anxiety-inducing, when you're living not truly as yourself, honestly, because there's nothing to lose, and you're not being vulnerable, and you're not really putting yourself out there, if that makes sense. Whereas I was really good at playing the game. Like, I was master at playing the game for the cards that I was dealt, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, thinking back on it, I always, and maybe it's just, I don't know if it's a me thing or whatever, but when I was younger, I would pride myself on how well I could schmooze people, well, adults, but people, like, I put on a great front 24/7. I could bling that smile, I could say the right words, like, to get what I needed and what I wanted and whatever. Not in, like, an insane way, but just, like, putting on the performance of, like, the perfect student, putting on the performance, like, I was ASB president, I was homecoming queen, I, like, whatever, I was in the orchestra, I got into a good college, I was smart, I came from a good family, I had, like, a reputation to uphold. And so I guess through all of that, there was a lot of things, like, to play into that I never was really looking at myself and, like, why on earth I was doing it. It really was just to uphold a reputation. I have 3 older siblings. Well, I have 3 older sisters. And for me, that was interesting because it allowed kind of a larger, expansive space of what a woman could look like, a Black woman could look like at that, where it's like, I felt okay and I didn't immediately realize. So I guess this video could also be / how I didn't know earlier that I was trans, which I was inspired to make. So I wanted to make these update videos. Currently, I am 4 months on T. July, August, September, October. Eesh! 4 and some. Let's say 4 in a week or something. Weeks on T. Oh, my name is Liam. LOL. I just have various points. We're just going to do a free-for-all. This is going to be a FaceTime chat. But anyways, I was saying, I have 3 older sisters, and so each of us being very different people, and kind of embodying ourselves and embodying being a woman differently, it really allowed for me to understand at a certain age, like, yo, I'm not like my sisters, but, like, that's okay because we're all very different, and that's okay. And I didn't realize, like, the differenceness that I felt wasn't about being the youngest sibling and wasn't about constantly feeling like, oh, I'm the mess up, I'm doing this wrong, whatever, having to try really hard, like, kind of feeling different and whatever. It was just because, like, yeah, I'm just gonna be different, that's what it is. And additionally, growing up being very, like, loud and confident and, like, outspoken and, like, sassy but, like, aggressive, it allowed me to kind of, like, dress however I want. I was really into, like, I wanted to be a fashion designer when I was younger, and etc. And, like, the family, my nickname was Microphone because I was always yelling and loud and, like, whatever. Like, my okayness with being different with how I expressed myself and being very creative and owning that, I think, allowed me to not dig too deep into, like, why I was feeling different. Because to me, it was like, if you're different, you're going to feel outcasted sometimes, and I was just totally good with being against the grain because I just loved rebelling. Aquarius. I'm an Aquarius sun, Aries moon, Gemini rising. It is ridiculous. Either way, whatever. And so that part of it. And so specifically with this, I also want to do this video because it's for me to talk through what I want to talk through and whatever, but it's also for whoever does end up seeing this. And I know there's not a lot of Black trans dudes on YouTube, or not a lot of Black trans dudes representation. I want to say that has gotten really popular on YouTube. And I know the couple that I found, like, I watch all their stuff just because I want to see some relatability. Because truly, the fact of the matter is, like, gender and race are not mutually exclusive, right? They are inextricable. Is that the word? I don't know. They are not mutually exclusive. They are hand in hand, especially for Black people and especially for Black women. What I realized was that because there is this such overt political masculinization and specific gendering of Black women and Black women's experiences, that just threw me for like a whirlwind with my view of myself and how others were treating me, right? Like, someone posted a TikTok, which was like insane because I hadn't really thought about it in relation to me being trans, but it was also another trans dude saying this of, he said, oh, basically I'm trans, whatever, but based on my experiences and like what I've gone through, a part of me will always be a Black woman. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. I completely resonate with that because there's also a violence and a specific experience that Black women have living in the world and living in America that is like unlike anything else specifically. And so having that be how I was socialized and brought up to be and to view and to think of myself and my place in the world, and additionally how the world interacted with me and socialized me and how they viewed me in the world, is very specific and almost restrictive. You know what I'm saying? So after I saw that, I was like, whoa. And I was kind of scared to talk to people about that. And I really haven't up to this point. Some people on Twitter have kind of delved into this a little bit, of saying, someone else was saying, I feel like this was Texas Isaiah, who's a really awesome, prominent Black trans man photographer who I'd love to work with one day. He's just really cool, and I just think that would be amazing. Who also did a portrait of, I don't know his last name, but Patricio something, Pat, the first trans dude, boxer, which is like so ridiculous and cool, but side note, whatever. So back to what I was saying, a specific violence and experience and gendering and masculinization that Black women experience that, like was so influential and forming and molding to who I am that it just is just part of my identity, that it's so specific. And so you get what I'm saying. So anyways, so on Twitter, Texas Isaiah, I feel like, I don't want to misquote, I want to try to find the tweet, but I probably won't, was saying there is a enlightening and a lot of education and theory and expansiveness to girlhood that could be talked about, and Black girlhood specifically, if we think about that transition that Black trans men have, and their experiences coming to terms and understanding. I hate that word, coming to terms. That sounds like there's an issue with something. Understanding who they are. And I completely wholeheartedly agree with that. It's like absolutely ridiculous. So going back into, I guess, me not understanding when I was younger, my transness, and specifically, like I was saying with race, it's that outside of the Black woman being treated and masculinized or sexualized in that way, so masculinized was my first point, sexualized is my second point, of when I say, like, from a young age, I knew and was taught, I didn't know this, but I was taught, and then through the teachings and the understandings and the interpretations I became to know about myself, and which I'm unlearning daily, of that my body is sexual, it's dangerous, it's not pretty, it's whatever, and this is amplified by me living in upper middle class suburban white suburb in California, you know what I'm saying, Southern California, and going to a really strict Reformed Dutch Christian school with, what did I just say, Dutch people, blonde haired, blue eyed, like, how more hilarious can it get, you know what I'm saying, being raised by staunch Protestant Christians who came from a Catholic background, and were evangelicals at one point. I mean, I would probably say that we were evangelical, but my formative growing up years, we were part of a non-denominational church or whatever. But the core family values were based in apostolicism and evangelism, LOL. So from K through 12, I went to a Reformed Christian school and hung out with white Reformed Christian people, and my entire life and circle and social life was around the church and Christ and God and whiteness and anti-blackness and just everything. And it was really frustrating to go through that, as I said, because that was really a cult, and that's how we should be perceiving the Christian church in general, because it is a cult. So growing up with that, and you don't see any representation, and you're made to feel ugly and bad 24/7. And my depression, which I've been depressed since I was like a young kid, and I was never really diagnosed with depression, and I also have ADHD as well, and I wasn't diagnosed until later in life, until recently actually, because sorry, having a lot going through my brain right now. Anti-blackness in the medical field, in the medical industry, which is literally killing Black women daily, every second, basically. And just like disbelief and a lot of very racist beliefs in the medical industry, whatever. But also because my parents, at different times of their life, were kind of like, in different ways, not prioritizing our mental health in different ways, and like whatever, To skip over a lot, because this doesn't need to be a therapy session, I wasn't diagnosed when I was younger, but I was really depressed, and so that was just kind of like my state of being, and I thought that everyone felt like that, but everyone doesn't feel like that, which is kind of sad, and I wish that I wasn't depressed, but hey, I'm alive still today to tell the tale. Either way, so back to school. Only Black kid in my class from like up till maybe like 6th grade or something. Even with that, then you have really small schools, so maybe like 5 to 10 Black kids. I want to say 5 Black kids in my grade, like going all the way up through like senior year. Right, whatever. So I'm also another TikTok that I saw that goes into this of other point is like at school I experienced a lot of racism where like literally this girl would not touch me. She said, "I've never touched a Black person before. I don't want to touch you." Can you imagine that? And just other insane shit that people would be doing all the time from 0 to 12. People would be running around being like, my family were slaveholders, so I'm going to call you this, that, and other. It doesn't get suspended. My family did this, that, and other, so I'm going to call you whatever. No. Just insanity, you know what I'm saying? Which was really difficult because during that formation, like, I had a lot of anti-Blackness growing up because that's, like, was all my formative years of just, like, not a lot of critical understanding being taught to me or talked about. Because for my family, I thought, well, whatever, let's not get into that. But whatever. So, that was that. And that was, like, a really hard time. And through that whole time, I just had a lot of, like, body issues. I mean, I remember, like, I got my period super early, so I was going through puberty super early. I got my period in 3rd grade. And so that was really frustrating. And, like, generally what I always say in my mind, to make me feel better eventually by the time I got to senior year, and I kind of was like, fuck all these white people, you're so annoying, but still being friends with them, whatever. But me, myself, and my little diverse friend group, whatever, but my close friends, I'm just like, you know what, like, fuck all these white girls, they're so annoying, this is so dumb. I literally was like, yo, all of these guys have to be gay, they have to be homosexuals, because literally all these white women have not gone through puberty and they have the bodies of boys. Which was outrageous for me to say and very rude and whatever. But it made me feel better where I had to go to that extreme to make myself feel better about how I looked. Because I was like, I actually look like a woman. I have a waist and hips and a chest and like whatever. But through that whole time, especially in high school, I had like really bad just body image issues. I thought I was like insanely fat, which I really wasn't. I look back on pictures and I'm like, dang, if I could be that small again, ridiculous. But it's funny at this point because I'm actually around the same size I was in high school, kind of. Yeesh, whatever. But that was my high school experience, and so all of that comes together where I just like was feeling bad very often, and I couldn't break through all the things that were making me feel bad to see that gender was one of those things, if that made sense. So going back to the puberty thing, one of the things that I was brought up when I did my gender assessment with my doctor was that when I first went through puberty, I was mortified. I remember feeling really awkward about my chest and having to start wearing like a training bra because I was just weird. But also, all of this also goes into fat phobia, you know what I'm saying? Because I thought that I hated my body because I was larger and overweight, and since I was like a young kid, like I was like technically obese, says the doctor, and then BMI and whatever, but I was like a pretty overweight kid. And so that just put right into my desirability. And so I always thought it was just like an image, an aesthetic thing, and like whatever, but it really wasn't, even though it was at the time, but the underlying issue wasn't really that, if that makes sense. So eventually in high school, I wasn't, I guess technically overweight anymore, but whatever. But compared to white people, you are, whatever. Or compared to the average high schooler who's 100 pounds, like you are, whatever. But one time, I was going back to the story, was, I remember this so vividly from my 13th birthday, right? The big, you're becoming a teen birthday. My mother asked all of my family members to buy me bras for my birthday. I was mortified. I was like, how could you do this to me? Like, whatever, la, la, la. Everyone was just smiling at the table. I was like, just pits in my stomach, like, geez, like, this is just terrible. This is just absolutely terrible and horrible. Okay, so moving forward with the timeline, desirability politics. So I was black. I'm darker skinned. And that was also a thing within like desirability, especially like within my family, because my family, well, part of my family comes from Louisiana, and one side of my grandparents, well, my grandma was pretty light, and she comes from kind of like a Creole background, so that desirability politics and understanding that as I grew up, I really understood that very well. And my mother herself being an AKA, I understood that very well, and hair very well, and all of that, of like all these things I could do, and like with all that, I just like never felt good ever, no matter what I could do. I mean, eventually in high school I felt good a little bit, but I think that came from my accomplishments and from being like well liked, but it was never like romantically, and that always just like killed me inside, truly. Because I was like, this is gonna make me happy, but none of it made me happy. None of it was ever going to make me happy. And so on the romantic part, I always had crushes on people, if that made sense, but I would never do anything about it. Or I mean, eventually I would, but I would never really like go up and talk to anyone or like whatever, because I was always, like I said, I grew up in a very traditional religious household, so it was always, I'm not going to go and talk to you, you're going to come pursue me, the men are going to come pursue me, I'm just the dainty little whatever, la 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 la. I'm saying cultish. At our school, I could tell you the insanity. It was like going to high school in the 50s, it was crazy. Either way, so the crushes I had, thinking back on them, all of these crushes, and this is when I really understood later in life my transness, none of these boys I was ever interested in romantically. I was just so overtly jealous of them. And even with my dude cousins, like my boy cousins, it was like, I would always be like friends with them, obviously, but I would always be an underlying like bitterness to them and jealousy, because I was like, dang, you have what I want. But I couldn't understand that at the time. It just came off as being disliking of men, and I think specifically disliking of black men too, because just other experiences and understandings of like the trauma that some of the men have gone through in my family, and how they have let that come out, if that makes sense, and just like uncomfortable positions that like I just didn't want to be in, that I just felt came back to being a guy. And so I was like, I don't like you guys, but yet I want to be you. But I didn't know I wanted to be them until later. But it was always this underlying bitterness, but also like jealousy, if that made sense. But the older ones, it was just like, oh, I don't like all of you guys. Like there's something, and it's similar to why I was inspired to make this. If you want to see someone else talk about it, YouTube, The Shadow and Understanding My Transness. I'm forgetting. I'll put in the link in the description though, but it was great. Really loved it. Fantastic. But that having a anti-sentiment towards men and black men specifically, because my thought was like, men are just so bad. They're violent. They're assaulters. They're selfish. They don't help. They're lazy. They take advantage of like their wives and whatever. They don't do any work. They're so backwards and traditional, like they're idiots, like whatever. But yet they get everything they fucking want. And I was just fucking mad about that. I was so mad, but I was really jealous. But I mean, I'm still mad today because I think like that's just generally like the patriarchy there as well. But it was really hard because it was like, why am I so fascinated? If I really was just a girl that was like anti-patriarchal and was just a lesbian, then I'd just be like, great, guys suck, whatever, move forward. But it was like, no, I'm obsessed with guys. Oh my gosh, obsessed. And that's really what is hilarious too. When I came out to my friends that had known me a long time since like being in school and whatever, they were like, that's so funny. Or when I came out as gay originally or like lesbian, whatever, they were like, yeah, like I totally would have said that, but since I know your history and you being absolutely boy crazy, like I would never have like said anything or like guessed or whatever. And I was like, yeah, I know exactly. But it was more just like being obsessed with them and being jealous and wanting to be them. You know what I'm saying? It's like nothing I could do would ever allow me to be seen or viewed like that, and that just made me so mad. So anyways, all these crushes, all these things that I tried to make happen or whatever, it was never. I think back on it and I try to envision myself like romantically being with them or sexually being with them, and it's just like almost repulsive because it's just like I don't want that. Like I do not want that at all. Like that's just really not it at all. And it was funny because I liked these guys a lot, but it also was like underneath I actually kind of hated them, which is a really like, it's hilarious like now thinking about it. Like I liked them, but I actually hated them. I just wanted to be them. I was just mad at them because I was like, you're so lucky, you don't deserve this. Anyways, and even ultimately like my senior year when I was kind of feeling better about myself, I think because I was getting a little bit more boy attention, but that's because I was forcing it, and I was just like, yo, I want to fucking date, so I'm gonna make it happen. So I asked someone out and whatever. And dude, it was hilarious because like by the time we got home and he was dropping me off at my house, like I don't know if he was interested or leaning me for a kiss or like whatever, but it just happened so quickly where I just looked at him and I was like, ugh. And I like tried to open the door and get out of the car, and he was like, geez. And I was like, oops, I didn't mean to do that. But instinctually my body was like, you don't want to be here. Like you don't even like him. Like this is making you uncomfortable. And I think in the moment I was like, oh, I'm just nervous, whatever. But it was really just like, I don't really like you. And I really didn't like him, like, because he really wasn't a nice guy, but it just made me feel special because he was nice to me, but he actually was a really mean person. Side note, whatever, because I just had poor self-esteem as well, despite being confident on the outside. Anyways, so it was all about jealousy and like whatever, but I think for me, I think at the time I just thought about it was animosity because I was so fed up with no one being interested in me, etc. And someone else on TikTok or Twitter or whatever was talking about the toll that it takes on you for when no one ever asks you out ever and you're kind of a late bloomer. Or not even late bloomer, it's just like no one was ever interested in you and never showed you any like romantic attention or whatever. So from that, it was just like me being like, the sins of the Bible, or be like, you can't be gay or you're going to hell or whatever, where it's like, if I'm going to find attention and affection, it's going to come from a fucking guy, and I have to be a girl to get it from a fucking guy. And so that's kind of just what it was, where it was like, I just really wanted to be wanted and attracted to, and to someone make me feel good and whatever. So I was just like, let me just do this, even though I was like, I just thought they were cool and I wanted to be one of them and not really be interested in them. So that kind of hurt. And I think it also comes back to, I thought that all of that confusion was based on me being black, which it was, because like I said, I went to an all-white school, and even the black guys, which is a thing, I can talk about this forever, right? In high school, in some of those situations, a lot of those white girls that eventually will not be with black men and later in their life love to date black guys in high school, as like experimental and just trying to get it out of their system, and also just because like maybe they actually are attracted to them, but it's not respectable to do that IRL or whatever. But that definitely happens and whatever. So the few black guys aren't going to be interested in black women anyways, whatever. And then the rest of the white guys are not interested in you because everyone's racist and no one likes black women, whatever. So it was half and half. So that was that. Even in college, it was just like I had so few boundaries with men. I still at this point, I mean, I knew that I liked girls in high school, but I just never admitted it, you know what I'm saying? Because one of my close friends in high school came out and her parents went insane, like were tracking her phone and were threatening, like, that's what I'm saying, people, like, this was a cult. If you came out as gay, you wouldn't be at school the next year. Like, you'd be shipped off. Your family wouldn't talk about you anymore. Like, it's not even a thing. If you got pregnant, you wouldn't be at school the next year, basically. Or, like, whatever. Or you just would be, you'd be whatever. Anything bad. Like, if you were, like, shoosh. Anyways. So even going into college, I knew that I liked girls, but I just didn't really want to act on it because I was very fearful, and I was still believing in God this whole time, and Jesus and whatever, and la la la. And then, but like I said, this whole thing are just memories, but it's like I wasn't actually living, like it was just like, it wasn't anything. And so then I get to college. Oh, so in high school, so the thing is, like, I liked girls, but I didn't realize I liked girls because I was like, oh, they're so pretty. That's crazy that no guys are after them. That really be my thought. I'd be like, dang, they are hot as hell. Why are no guys talking to them or whatever? Or it would just be like, geez, they are insanely cute. Like, whatever. Like, I can't believe, like, so-and-so, whatever. Where it's just like, if I was a guy, I totally would date you. Or, like, whatever. Where it's like, at that part, it was just like, initially I came out as bisexual because it's like, yeah, of course, you can't tell that everyone's hot. And at this point, like, I can, like, be like, guys are hot, but I'm not, like, attracted to them in a romantic or a sexual way for right now. But anyways, but the same way, like, I technically could like girls at the same amount that I could like guys in high school, but I just didn't really want to think about it. Whatever. But definitely by senior year, I was like, because I had my confidence, and so I feel like more of me actually was coming out, and I kind of had some crushes in high school, which is hilarious. Some actual girl crushes is what I'm saying, which was really cute and fun and whatever. And it was more just like friendly, but I was just like, OMG, they're so cute, OMG. But I wasn't really recognizing that in my head. I was kind of just like, you're kind of one of my favorites, and I just kind of like you as a friend, but like not really. So anyways, then in college, I'm extremely depressed because my ADHD is kicking my ass and I'm failing my classes and like whatever. And I'm still trying to get with guys, even though it was like, what were you going to do? Like, when I think about it, I'm happy that I never actually ended up with any guys. Thankfully, I've only ever been with girls. Because if that ever happened, like, what was I gonna do? So I did get some attention in college, because at that point, it was like, I'm actually with more black guys, and so that's that. Okay, let's rephrase. I got attention from one black guy, and I thought he was cute. And I'll still say he's cute today, but I still wouldn't be with him. But I was like, whoa, that's crazy. but it was totally for my body, which is crazy. Because the whole situation, I think back, it was like we literally were in the elevator together, and I was at the front of the elevator. And I get in, or he was in the elevator. I get in and turn around, and I'm in these like tight leggings and whatever, and I have a nice butt, I'll say it. I got a big fat ass. Speaking of freaking going to high school, people used to chase me around the school to touch my butt. Can you imagine that? Because it was so big. Talk about being on an auction block, being a fucking slave. People would be chasing me around school to touch me. Sexual harassment. People would be running around trying to touch my hair and like yank my hair. Harassment. This is the same girl that said that she wouldn't touch my skin because I was black. Like, literal trauma. Anyways, so outside of that, I got so depressed. I was like, I can't even think about being with trying to think romantically about anyone. I was just trying to continue living when I was in college. Freshman through sophomore year. So I got through it. I kind of was trying to get at this one dude, which is super annoying. It's absolutely no boundaries. And just like whatever. And it just makes me so uncomfortable thinking about it. Eventually, finally, I get to junior year, and at this point, I still haven't outwardly come out as like bi or like whatever, but truly I am bi. And what's hilarious this whole time, right, is like some of my friends, my actual closest friends, like my best friend knew that I liked girls or whatever, but we really didn't talk about it because like it was kind of just between us. We were the two gay ones, the bi ones, whatever. We just kind of really didn't talk about it because it was more like we were trying to pray the gay away, okay? We were literally, I was condemning myself so hard. After I kind of like finally admitted it, I would like see girls and I would have to turn my head. Can you believe that? I would turn my head because I'd be like, oh no, I'm sinning. Oh, she's so hot. I'm sinning. I have one. Oh my gosh. Yo, this thing went crazy.